Vile in-laws tried to ruin wedding by wearing bridal dresses, but bride invited everyone to wear bridal dresses. Long but worth it. Revenge on my mill, who was horrible to me for years and then decided she would wear the exact same dress as me to my wedding. TW mention of religious trauma. I was looking at my wedding photos today and thought this community would appreciate my success. It's a bit long with all the background, so go make a cup and settle in. My mill hated me from the moment we met. Think evangelical Catholic meets goth atheist. I moved in with her son and had a baby without getting married, and she truly believed I was the devil incarnate sent to draw her baby boy into the depths of hell. There followed years of petty microaggressions, a constant barrage of manipulation and guilt-tripping, and doing things like offering to watch the kids then pulling out 1 2 hour before, or buying the kids a puppy when we expressly said no and then blaming us when she had to take the poor thing back. She pushed over my motorbike, turned up at my work, tried to rearrange the furniture in our house, and constantly talked about God and Jesus in front of the kids and told them they were going to hell because they weren't baptized. I went VLC and things were quiet for a while. I never cared about getting married. I felt weddings were a waste of money. I'd rather have a boat or a new motorbike, but it was important to hubby, so I agreed, on the condition that it was not a church wedding. Apart from the generally problematic nature of the church, I experienced religious drama growing up and I wasn't prepared to compromise. Hubby agreed and we started planning. 2 days after we announced our engagement, to much wailing, gnashing of teeth and general dismay, a priest arrived on our doorstep. He had been sent by Mill to schedule a date for our wedding and book us in for premarital counseling. I was very nice to him after all. My issue was with the institution, not this poor guy, and thanked him for coming and told him we wouldn't be requiring any Catholic services for the wedding. He looked sad and expressed he was a bit nervous to let Mill know. I offered him coffee and sympathy, and that was the start of an unlikely friendship. I was fairly annoyed by this stunt. I talked to my hubby, who at that time was so far in the fog that he couldn't see a hand in front of his face. He didn't see the big deal and asked me to just let it go. I thought about it for a day, then told him no. We had to address this immediately or it would escalate. I understood that he loved his mom and sisters, but that their obvious contempt for me was a problem. I don't like ultimatums, but by this point I'd been putting up with it for about 6 years. I laid it out. We address it now, or no wedding. It went about as well as you'd expect. We visited and hubby tried to talk to her about how inappropriate her actions were. She screamed at him and cried, and then his sisters started on us both. Standing there, watching my hubby's heart break, my filter broke. I told them to stop, very loudly. Then, I told them that they were behaving like toddlers, that I was embarrassed by their antics and to consider this their first and only warning. If they tried anything like that again, or treated us with anything other than kindness and respect, not only would I cancel the wedding, I would tell their priest and all their friends about their disgusting behavior. If they wanted to be part of the planning, I would welcome their participation, but that hubby and I had the final say. Mill tried to speak, but I shushed her like Dr. Evil shushing Scott, and we left. Hubby was distraught and I felt bad for him, but we got into couples counseling and things got better. Meanwhile, Mill and the SEALs seemed to have taken things on board and were maintaining a frosty civility, although I was banned from their house because I was scary. Fast forward about 12 months. Time for dress shopping. Ye gods, I hated the idea of a wedding dress. I hate pale colors. I hate dressing up. I hate dresses. Just everything about the idea made me want to fake a coma to get out of it, but I'd promised my own very Jimmerman brother that we could do this together. So Mom, Mill, Silex 3, brother and his wife all traipsed along with me to marvel at the sight of me in a dress. And it wasn't a bad day. The eels behaved and I found a dress that I didn't hate as much as the others. I paid for it and we left. The next day, I got a call from the shop. Mill and the Sills had ordered themselves the exact same dress as me. I told hubby and he didn't really believe it. I laughed about it for a bit, went back to the shop and ordered a new dress. This one was dark purple with black trim. And then I had the idea. I don't have a lot of female friends. But all my male friends have wives who had wedding dresses. And sometimes they say they feel sad that they spent all that money on a dress that they'll never wear again. I talked to hubby and he agreed, so the invitations went out and every person who had ever worn a wedding dress was invited to wear it to our wedding. Mill and the Seals got different invitation that specifically asked that they not wear white. Dress code was stated as whatever you're comfortable in. I wasn't there for the initial confusion that swiftly turned to rage, but my mom and brother gleefully recounted the story later. All 4 of them turned up in their beautiful white dresses with their beautiful makeup and hair and were completely absorbed by the rest of the crowd. They didn't stand out. They looked exactly like everyone else. Except for my mom and brother's wife, who wore purple like me. They weren't going to ruin my day by upstaging me. My hubby, who up to that point really didn't think they would do something so vile, turned to stone that day. They had finally shown the depths that they would sink to and the last of the fog was swept away. I turned up in the sidecar of a Harley. I did experiment with riding in the dress, but it didn't end so well and the shop had to make a few emergency repairs the week before and I walked down the aisle to the Imperial March by myself. My brother was my maid of honor and his wife was my hubby's best man. Remember the priest? Well, he wasn't allowed to officiate outside a church as a priest, so he was our MC. This was the icing on the cake, because I saw Mil's face light up when she saw him. Until he introduced the marriage celebrant and handed her the microphone. We had a pagan hand fasting, jumped over a broomstick and walked back down the aisle to Sweet Child O' Mine while our two kids played air guitar and danced ahead of us. And ignored Mil and the Sills when they tried to get them to go over there. I came face to face with my Mil at the door. She was incandescent with rage. She went to speak, but my hubby stepped. He shushed her right in front of everyone. It was glorious. She didn't speak to either of us for the rest of the night. She didn't speak to us for nearly a month. And then she called one day to ask to see the kids as if nothing had happened. So I had it go, because my husband and I had one. But every now and then I wear the purple dress when I know she'll be at an event, because I'm petty like that. I went to bed and found out it had blown up overnight. I can't respond individually to everyone, so I'll clarify a few things here. Wedding was 20 years ago. We've been happily married since and the Eels have mellowed with age. The Sills all have their own partners and kids and we hang out sometimes. I'm not in the US. Being family does not give anyone the right to treat people badly. My Mil did not deserve consideration just because she was my hubby's mom. I'm not pagan. I'm an atheist, encouraged both by horrible experiences as a child and young adult and a career in science. I don't have a blanket hate for religious people, and I respect their right to practice their faith should they choose to do so. We didn't have a pagan wedding. It was a secular ceremony that included things that hubby and I liked. I actually wanted to jump over a fire, but it was summer and we had a total fire ban, so even if I wasn't scared about setting myself ablaze, we wouldn't have been able to do it. The original dress I had purchased was about $300. There was no way I was spending thousands on a dress I would never wear again, so it wasn't out of Mil's budget. Not all the women chose to wear their own wedding dresses, and as far as I know, no one bought a new wedding dress just for the day. The bridal shop helped a few people source second-hand ones to borrow. Priests are normal people under all that religious stuff. The priest in question is still our friend. We bonded over a love of Terry Pratchett books, Star Trek, Star Wars, Lego and all things nerdy. I showed him some of the comments and he was confused. Priests are allowed to go to and participate in things that aren't related to their church. I mean, they have families, friends etc. and not all of them are Catholic. He did point out that some dioceses are much stricter than others, especially in traditionally religious countries. My kids taught me about the dangers of doxing a few years ago. No photos. Some people think it's a fake story. That's okay, too. Sometimes it's nice to feel smug and self-righteous about something that doesn't matter to anyone except the participants. If it would make you feel better, I could add something obviously fake so you can go, "Ha, I knew it, liar liar, pants on fire. How about we went on our honeymoon to Mars?" Going to work now. I'm glad so many people have enjoyed the epic saga of my wedding day. And all those wanting to be my friend, that makes me happy. Edit 2. Given how this has blown up, I googled the dress shop to see if it was still there. Sadly, it appears it has closed down, so they can't use this for free advertising. Sally, Kylie, Georgia, if you're out there, I think of you often. You guys are the true heroes here. Repost. When I read that, I got hopeful that these menfolk had borrowed their wives' dresses. While I enjoyed imagining Mil and Dill blending into a crowd of womenfolk in wedding dresses, imagining them blending into a crowd of men wearing wedding dresses would have been so perfect. Just think of Mil next to a bearded man wearing the same dress.